Welcome to the Miracle You, guiding you on the journey towards finding passion and purpose and how to discover, create, and live a life by your design. Whether your success has been plentiful or your missed opportunities have been overwhelming, we can help you become a more empowered, masterful person and show you how to share your gift with the world. It's time to inspire change from within with the host of the Miracle You, Vince Kramer.
Hello, everyone. We are your hosts, Mary and Vince Kramer. Welcome to Waking Up, where we share discussions, insights, and information about science, spirituality, and living a life of your design.
Hello, everyone. It's Vince and Mary with you. We're so excited to really start the Waking Up with Vince and Mary podcast. These episodes are really to help you and answer questions that we've had from our listeners over time. And we're really excited about sharing this new format. In the introduction episode, we shared with you what our plans were, how we think we're going to show up, but who knows? We may flow with the questions that come in from you. We may dive into topics that are near and dear to all of us as we go through the Waking Up series. We really want to make this about you. We want to help you find your way. We want to help you find the community that we know each and every one of you need to really help you step further into your journey and make the impact that you're meant to make. As we told you before in the last episode, Mary and I co-founded a company called Imagine Miracles. Mary, why don't you share with the listeners, the imagination, what Imagine Miracles means to you and why we started it?
Hi, everyone. It's so great to be back with you. It like Vince said, it truly is our heart's desire to be here alongside you and to guide you when it's appropriate and you find wisdom, what we have to share. And that's really where Imagine Miracles came from. And I know Vince will give us the definition of Imagine Miracles in a minute, but it's such an incredible platform that we have with Imagine Miracles, not just the podcast, but the programs that Vince has created, influenced and guided by the Roundtable, and using his talents and gifts, which are many, but one of them is to develop programs. And it's wonderful to be a part of something where we can all support one another in stepping into the new paradigm and using the concepts and the programs in Imagine Miracles of the new paradigm. Imagining, to me, is being an active participant in creating. And what do I want out of my life and how do I want to create it? And what miracles will happen because I'm raising my consciousness and really embodying the fact that I am a creator of my own life.
And one of the exciting things about the name Imagine Miracles, it really came about years before Mary and I got together and really found that we had a purpose together, not just a purpose for each of us, but also a purpose that we were meant to live together. And the name of it had been thought about, like I said, years before in another group in a business that was being started. But when Mary and I found that purpose together, it really made sense to use the Imagine Miracles name. Imagine to us, when I say to us, it's very exciting because we have a third partner that is called the Roundtable. It's a group of masters and angels that are channeled through me. And that's the third partner in our business. And the definitions that they gave us around Imagine and Miracles has really been the driving force on the programs and how we show up. So Imagine is creating with thought and feeling. It's visualizing what you want and then bringing feeling and your five senses into it to truly talk in the language, if you will, of the universe, the electromagnetic frequencies of the universe. So thought and feeling and bringing the five senses in. And then miracles, it was shared with us that if we looked at a miracle as through an act of love, sharing your gifts and talents in a way that others could share theirs. So if you just look back on the Bible, if you will, and the miracles that Jesus brought to the world, he was using his talents and gifts to help others on their journey. So I think it's extremely true, this definition that was shared with us. So that's where Imagine Miracles came about. And as we got further and further into the Imagine Miracles programs, really figuring out what it was that we're meant to bring to this world, we uncovered the fact that we have a life that is truly meant to live. And Mary, I'd love for you to give everyone your insight on this life, and a lot of the things that you shared with me that we documented, if you will, in our book Awakening Through Moments of Choice. You really brought me into this new paradigm. Could you share a little bit more about that life meant to live?
I'd love to. The life meant to live for me, and I believe you'll agree, Vince, is what did I decide before I incarnated? What did I decide that I wanted to accomplish in this lifetime? And basically, what difference did I want to make? And I can tell you that I didn't really understand that fully until we were deep into Imagine Miracles. And then things started to be uncovered. And that's when I kind of put 2 + 2 together and realized that the decision of the difference you're going to make is made before you come in. And then part of the miracle of being incarnated and having the privilege of being here is creating your life experiences in co-creation with your higher self to discover your life meant to live and to really find appreciation for your plan that you created, and be an appreciation for all the things that you've created, as in talents and gifts, developed is what I should say, as you have developed your talents and gifts, even if you're conscious or unconscious of your life meant to live. So a long way around of saying is that I understand now that I came to Earth with a plan, with a purpose, and what holds that plan is our higher self. And there are people that help, like Vince and me, to help you uncover what that life is, what that life meant to live is, and how you can really expand on that and live a more joyful, abundant life.
You shared earlier in the podcast that we're here to guide you. One of the things that I think we've uncovered along our journey is that we all have our own answers to this life that we're meant to live. And it's more about guiding you through finding those answers through connections. And one of the connections that we feel is really important, and I think it's something that definitely hasn't been taught. It definitely isn't part of most of our day-to-day lives, but it's that connection with higher self. What does higher self mean to you?
Well, to me, higher self means that it's the real me, the energetic part of me, the part of me that is already loving and already compassionate. And how can I tap into that and become that more on this earth plane?
I think as we share in our Take a Quantum Leap program, many people call the higher self the soul, the self. There's lots of names for it, but I think as we look back at the way that Abraham through Esther Hicks described it, there's a non-physical part of us, and most of us is most of each and every one of us is non-physical. But then there's that physical part of us that has to be matter and has to live on earth. And I love the way that you share it. It's that loving, compassionate, and I really believe the all-knowing part of us, the higher self, hasn't forgotten like we've had to forget. And that, I'm sure, that will be a subject for another episode. We don't have time to delve into why we forgot and how forgetting all happened. As we're looking at a miracle life, because that's where we started when we started the business. We wanted everybody to live their miracle life, which was really living your talents and gifts in a way that others could live theirs, and then find the joy and the happiness and the abundance and the health that came from being at that higher vibration. But as you shared, we knew what we were coming into this world to do. We knew that we were going to make a difference. And I think as you said it so well before, there was a journey of developing talents and gifts to make that difference and to experience life in a new way to make that difference. And we'll talk a little bit later in the podcast about the true 3 steps of that life. But could you share about some of the things that get in the way of us living that life, of us growing and expanding?
I'd love to share the things that have really been pertinent for me and the things that I've really had to raise my consciousness over, receive a lot of coaching, do a lot of belief work. One of them is the conditioning or programming that I had as a child that, of course, came from my parents and my community, church, and school. And to realize that there was way more room for my thinking and my rules, as you say, Vince, living by your own rules. And I really didn't even become aware of the programming that I had until, I was well into adulthood. So that's one thing that has been quite a journey for me. Another one has been the thoughts in my head. So I think it wasn't until my mid-20s that I could get my mom out of my head. And I know a lot of you listeners know exactly what I mean, because I've talked to a lot of people and they've agreed that they've had this exact same experience where you're worried, at 20, 22, 24, whatever, it doesn't matter the age, that are you doing the right thing? And am I saying the right thing? And am I acting the right way? In my case, my mother be proud of me, or would she be upset by what I've just done? And I think that's a big thing that gets in the way, not just your mom in your head, but what about all the other thoughts in your head? What about the other, when I say voices, I'm not talking about in the psychology world, but just those thoughts that you have in your head that are in your voice and you hear yourself thinking them, but they really can control your life. They can dissuade you from making really great moves in your life. They can hold you back. They can make you feel insecure, and they can make you feel lacking confident. And I know you have even more things to add to this, Vince, but those were the 2 really big things that I've had to work with as I've aged and matured and become more conscious.
And we'll make sure that we share with people in future episodes what really does get in the way, because that's one of the things we don't know. What can get in the way of us moving forward? And like you shared, it's the inside things. It's the thoughts that have created beliefs that we've been living by for such a long time. And then the subpersonalities that use those beliefs to keep us in that direction. And I think one of the funniest things that I heard when I first got started doing some of the work around subpersonalities is that we usually have a subpersonality that is our mother and a subpersonality that is our father. And sometimes the voices in our head sound exactly like them. And we can really discover more about that subpersonality if we just think back on what were the rules that mom taught me, what were the rules that dad taught me on that journey. So what's going to get in the way is an inside job, really. It's all coming from the inside, and society helps us think that success looks a certain way, and if we show up this way, we're going to be happy. We're going to be healthy. We're going to experience life in a way that we want to, along with realizing that we have these beliefs, this belief system, and we have these subpersonalities that can get in the way, that are really the obstacles. Um, the other thing people don't know is how to get beyond them. So could you share a little bit about your thoughts and feelings around getting around those obstacles?
Well, I definitely think getting around them, I agree, is totally an inside job, but I personally couldn't have done it without your coaching and the coaching I got from the roundtable. It takes someone objective that can see where you're reacting and really help you work through that. So I would say that was the number one thing for me. The number two thing was becoming aware of them. I think for a while I was in complete denial that there were voices in my head. I was denial, other than the work I did in my 20s around my mom. I didn't understand that there was more work to do. I didn't understand that there were levels of consciousness that I didn't even know I didn't know. And as my levels of consciousness have raised around this work that you and I are talking about, yes, I've moved up the ladder into knowing that I don't know. And then something will happen and I realize, oh, wow, once again, I don't know that I don't know. So I'm going to leave it with that, those two things, getting help and raising my consciousness and being willing to look at where I'm blocked, or what I would say where I'm in denial, and then asking for help again, has really moved me forward.
We talk in our first basic program. Actually, we named it "Take a Quantum Leap," and it's really about taking a quantum leap in awareness, stepping into that new level of consciousness that you shared. And as you know, Mary, I'm not big on catchphrases, and the catchphrase of "you got to live in the present moment" was something that really bothered me. But to move beyond these obstacles, we truly have to live more in the present moment, because and you just shared this, that our beliefs and our subpersonalities come from that unconscious part of us, or that subconscious part of us. So if we're not living consciously, if we're not in the present moment, all our decisions are made from that unconscious part of it, that subconscious part of it. And it's really about mastering your mind, knowing what your thoughts are in the moment and what thoughts best support you. What can you share with us about mastering your mind?
I think that's been my greatest challenge of living with you and the roundtable and the concept of mastering your mind. I have really taken that to heart. And I've noticed that when I'm struggling or in low vibration, when I'm experiencing sadness or boredom or anger, all low vibrations, that's where you really have to accept and understand what it means to master your mind. And I know that you have some tricks on how to stop the hamster wheel thinking, but that's really maybe the first step, would you say, in mastering your mind is you have to, we already talked about being aware, but you have to stop them. And then you can change in that moment. You can change the thought, change the energy, and then make a choice. I think that's the biggest thing that is hard for me, and the thing that I have to be most present to.
Yeah, it's difficult for all of us. It was difficult for me in realizing that there's a trigger point with our thoughts, and that trigger point comes from those beliefs that we have. And when the trigger point hits, that subpersonality kicks in, and then we're just kind of along for the ride. So for me, it was difficult realizing that I had to find the thoughts that came before the thoughts that were the trigger, because once as I said, once we're triggered, we're kind of along for the ride with our subpersonalities.
Yeah, Vince, that was really profound that you had to find the thought before the thought. I mean, that could be, I hope everyone listening will really digest that for a minute.
Yeah, it's so important to understand that, because we can be conscious, we can be in control of our minds as long as we catch that thought before the thought that's the trigger. That is extremely huge. In living that life that we're meant to live, we've really got a process. We came to life and we've forgotten exactly what it was that we came for. And there was a reason that we forgot, because we had to have the experiences of life to understand how people are feeling and how people react and interact when they are not experiencing life fully in a way that they're meant to. And for us to make a difference, we had to learn what the people were going through, the pains that people would be having, that we're really here to help them through. And we're all here to serve. We're all here to help each other on this journey. So in forgetting, we had bad things happen in our lives. And one of our mentors, Debbie Ford, talked about why do bad things happen to good people. And it's really not bad things. Like you said earlier, it's a co-creation with our higher selves to help us learn, to help us develop those gifts that we need to bring who we are to the world.
And to pay attention.
Yes, exactly. Paying attention is so difficult for us because we have gotten into patterns. And when we operate from those patterns, we truly are on autopilot. And as being on autopilot, things happen before we even realize they're happening. So we forgot, and we learned all these things. We experienced the lower vibrations of the energy stream that we are. We experience the higher vibrations of the energy streams that we are. And then it's time to awaken, as we share in the book. It's really time to listen to the wake up calls that are trying to get us to pay attention. And then as we wake up, that's really the first step of the process. But then we put together something to help on that journey, to guide people through the journey, called the Miracle Life Method. And the Miracle Life Method is truly discovering that life that you're meant to live, and then creating that life that you're meant to live, and then finally living it, bringing all of you to the world and serving. What have you found around the discover part that you think people need to know?
I think the discover part is you have to be willing. And for some people, that means you're going to be in pain first. And for others, it doesn't. For me, it was living a very stressed out, materialistic life. And I thought I had everything, yet I wasn't well from stress. So even though I may have had a lot of wonderful things and a wonderful life, the stress was going to take it from me. So I had to discover many things, not just, oh, it was stress, but I had to discover many things that were driving me to be stressed out. It was an actual program, like I mentioned earlier. I don't know that you say that as much as I do, Vince, but I really, I subscribe for myself that I was programmed very early and even into my early 20s to be a certain way, live a certain way, think a certain way. And again, I accomplished a lot, but I was going to die from stress. So I had to really live the discover phase. And I'm still living the discover phase. It's interesting when I was listening to you talk about the discover and create and live. Yes, there are phases to it. And then at every level, though, you're continually discover, creating, and living. And then you uncover another level and you do it all again. So I think also that I want to mention is, even though I've done, a lot of work, my Achilles heel, so to speak, is stress. So every time I come into a new level of awareness, I notice that stress pops back up. It may not look like it did when I was 42 and 48, but it is still the underlying program. Maybe you have a better word than program, or default for me to, it gets my attention. So that I like that part. I don't like the fear of dying from stress, but I do like, oh, I know what this feels like. Oh, I remember this. I need to go back to mastering my mind.
And we shared that in the book. You shared in the prologue that was the eye-opening, the awakening to, okay, well, what's this really all about? And then as you step into the discover part of it, what's the blueprint? What's the blueprint that we brought into this world for this life that we're meant to live? And how can we find it, and how can we use it to make sense of why we created and co-created so many of these things that have happened in our lives? Why did this person come in our life for a short period of time? And why did that person come into our life for a longer period of time? And really taking the understanding of all that information and uncovering your blueprint and getting it there in front of you so you can say, ah, this is why I'm here. We call it your unique purpose. This is why I'm here. Now, how can I create a life based on that? And I think it's just like you just shared with us. That first step really is stepping into those things that we don't know. We really don't know what we want. But if we can use the blueprint, we can start uncovering what we want. And then how do we create it, right?
Exactly. And I have many friends that when I ask them, what do you want? They say, I don't know. And I firmly believe the reason, those of you that are listening, that if I asked you, what do you want? And you're like, I don't know, you have to have a vision. And for people like me, who have been doing everything the quote unquote right way, I don't know all the time what I want because I'm so busy following everyone else's rules. And so part of uncovering and discovering is working with those thoughts, those voices in my head, to even give me space to discover what I want. And I think that's really important that I shared that with this in this conversation, because there are people out there that need the help and the space to create a vision.
And we're going to talk about that blueprint through the episodes that we share with you over the coming weeks and months. And that blueprint will help us really fine tune what we want. If we can align our wants with living that purpose, we're going to find ourselves in a higher vibration, and that means we're going to attract more things into our lives to show us our abundance, to show us that we can be happy, high functioning, high frequency people in living on this world, no matter what's going on around us. So once we find what we want, then how do we create it? And that's a big part of that second step. Create your miracle life. Create the life that you're meant to live. And it starts right, just like Mary said. How do we find what's in the way of that happening? What are the voices telling us, so we can then start stepping in fully into using universal laws, using the laws of quantum physics to create on purpose. And Mary shared it before. We create pretty much in the subconscious or unconscious if we're not purposely creating. The scientists now are saying that about 95% of our life we're living from the subconscious. If we can just change that to 15 or 20 or 25%, that we're living in our conscious mind, just think how many changes that would happen from that. And that's what Create's all about. How do you use the laws of the universe? How do you use the laws of quantum physics to understand and no longer create from autopilot, and really step into creating the life that you want? And then it's working around the obstacles when they pop up. Mary, one of the things that I have found, and I think you feel the same way, most of the time when we're doing this personal inside work, we are coming from a place of, I got to find all the things that's wrong with me so I can move forward. How, how do you feel about that?
I think that's a challenge. And I agree, there's nothing wrong with us, but I default, let's say, to what did I say wrong? What did I do wrong? Why am I feeling badly? And I think that that's part of the uncovering, is looking at those knee-jerk reactions that we have where we're always blaming ourselves, when so many times that's actually not at all required or appropriate. But we have to work with those default reactions before we can even see that our reaction wasn't needed.
And I like the way that you put that reaction, because it's not, there's no forethought to that. It's just, this happened to me and I'm automatically going to react this way, instead of coming from a place of responding, learning how to keep your vibration at a higher level, learning how to reframe those beliefs, learning how to work with those subconscious personalities. And then the third step of the Miracle Life Method is to live that life. What does that mean to you, Mary?
Well, at this stage of my awakening, it's living every day as conscious as I can. You were talking about the goal of, I love the goal, of up to being 25% conscious in the moment. Man, I'll tell you, I'll take 5 more percent, because I have experienced what it's like in this phase when you are in the present moment and you have created, you do have a vision, and you actually start living and experiencing what you laid out. And it's exciting. And so my response to your question is, living it is the new way, the new paradigm. It's so connected, and it's all about being connected and community and being present for other people, and not always reacting and then having to deal with the consequences of reacting. Looking at law of attraction and how it benefits you. There was a lot of energy that came in with me sharing that with you. So I don't even know if I answered you directly, but I think, as you can tell by my enthusiasm, that the living part of it is pretty cool.
It certainly is. And The one thing that I like to share is it's not about change. It's not about looking at your life the way it is right now. And then what do I have to do differently? Where do I have to learn? Where do I have to grow? It's really about transformation, choosing a new context and then living from that context. And then, as you said earlier, we kind of go back through the other stages because we're constantly expanding, we're constantly growing. We can fine tune our reason for being here, what we call our divine intent. But then there's beliefs that are going to show up that were hidden pretty deep, and emotions that we've got stuffed in our body somewhere that we've repressed or suppressed. And as we uncover those from making our transformation, it's really about doing the work needed to live, as you said earlier, live your life your way instead of following the rules of others. So over the next few months through our episodes, we're going to share lots of things with you. We're going to share about the Miracle Life Method and how it's affected our lives and how it's affected others. We're going to share our experiences so you know what's out there in front of you, or you know you're not alone if you're experiencing them also. That's what the Miracle You podcast is all about. We'll talk about some of our experiences with our clients and what they have learned and experienced so it can help you on your journey. We're going to share with you from awakening through moments of choice and help you see our story and why our story was important to us and how you can use our story as a launch platform for you to rocket into who you're meant to be and to live your life connected, to live your life supported in community, and to live your life following not just your dream, but your calling. Dreams kind of come and go, but your calling never goes away. And then we'll use different things from Imagine Miracles programs to help you along the journey and hopefully help you find all of who you are so you can live the life that you're meant to live and to live it fully in a high vibrational way.
It's exciting. I hope all of you are excited too, and will look to us as a guide, giving you tips and sharing our experiences. We're with you, and we know you're with us, and we want to, I know Vince and I just, all we want to do is just be there and be of service and grow and expand ourselves as we help you grow and expand.
So until next time, if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about the story, why we're doing what we're doing, how we uncovered it and discovered it, you can get Awakening Through Moments of Choice on Amazon. And you can find out more about us and the programs by going to imaginemiracles.com. So until we get together again, we hope you have a miracle day, a miracle life, and you find the magnificence of you.
I'm excited. Have a great night, and we'll look forward to sharing with you soon.
You've completed this episode of The Miracle You, but we have plenty more to help you discover your own personal passion and purpose. Head over to themiracleyou.com for free resources to assist you on your journey, as well as register for our free webinar, Discover Your Miracle Life, 3 Mind Awakening Steps Toward Your Unique Purpose, or apply for a one-on-one Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session and discover your next best step on your journey. All available exclusively on our website. That's themiracleyou.com. We look forward to sharing more experiences of passion, purpose, and life by design next time, right here on The Miracle You.